Everybody has some level of anxiety about what our AI future will look like. Somewhere between doomsday robots and frictionless utopia, the most immediate fear is simpler. Will this technology do my job better than I can, and sooner than I think? Today, you'll get a clear, practical map of where AI is creating wealth, where it's destroying it, and the 10-second test that tells you whether your role is being complemented or substituted by AI. By the end, you'll know how to position yourself on the right side of that divide. Here's the big idea. In past waves of technology, machines mostly amplified human labor. Tractors didn't erase farmers, they multiplied what each farmer could do. But AI is a different kind of capital. In some roles it acts like an amplifier, supercharging skilled people. In other roles it behaves like a replacement, doing the task end-to-end without a human at all. The future belongs to those who can tell the difference and move accordingly. If this is useful already, tap like so YouTube shows it to more people. Let's start where the changes show up first. Not in Silicon Valley boardrooms, but on service floors and economies built on outsourced work. For 30 years, countries like the Philippines and Bangladesh have grown by handling the back office of the world. Call centers, data entry, transcription, basic software support. These jobs were considered automation resistant because they required language, context, tone, a human touch. But large language models learned the touch. They learned it fast. In the Philippines alone, over 1 million people work in business process outsourcing. A significant share of those tasks are exactly the kind AI can now complete in seconds at a fraction of the cost. 2/3 of outsourcing providers there already use AI to cut handle time, summarize cases, draft responses, and deflect tickets entirely. The first dominoes are wobbling. Bangladesh faces the same pressure from another angle. Tens of thousands of workers provide transcription, chat support, and data cleanup for overseas clients. When an AI agent can read, label, reformat, and reply at machine speed, the math changes. A single slot in a server rack can replace an entire late-night shift. And when the cost curves cross, companies stop offshoring and start reshoring the work to their own teams, plus automation. That flips a 30-year script that helped developing nations catch up. It widens the gap again. Now shift the camera to wealthy countries. Here, AI divides the workforce inside the same economy. Roles with routine, rules-bound work shrink. Cashiers, bank tellers, postal staff, and customer service representatives all face steady headwinds. Meanwhile, roles that use judgment, synthesis, and tacit knowledge get a surprising tailwind. A financial analyst who can prompt an assistant to scan filings, spot anomalies, and model scenarios becomes far more effective. A clinician using decision support can catch patterns faster and spend more time on care. In these cases, AI is complementary capital. It multiplies you. That distinction, complementary versus substitutive, is the core filter you should apply to your own job. Here's the 10-second test. If your output improves dramatically when you add context, negotiation, taste, or domain nuance, AI likely complements you. If your output is already a sequence of rules on top of structured data, AI is aiming to substitute you. Neither bucket is a life sentence, but confusing the two is expensive. Why is the split so sharp this time? Because AI rewards the owners of certain assets. Massive data, cutting-edge models, distribution, and specialized hardware. The more data a platform ingests, the better its model gets. The better the product. The more users it attracts, the more data it ingests. That is the data network effect. Add in patents, proprietary tooling, and access to GPUs, and you get market power compounding in a few firms and a handful of countries. When the capital is this concentrated, productivity gains don't automatically flow to wages the way they did with older, widely available machines. They flow to whoever controls the stack. History shows what happens when disruption hits faster than communities can adapt. The United States lost millions of manufacturing jobs between the 1980s and 2010 as automation and global supply chains reconfigured entire regions. Towns in the industrial Midwest watched stable, middle-class roles disappear. The UK saw coal and steel heartlands shrink, with long tails in health, education, and mobility. Those lessons matter now because services are where the shock is landing, and services employ most people. So what do you do about it this week? Not someday. Start with a clear picture of how your value is created. Imagine your job as a pipeline from input to output. Mark every step. Which steps depend on rules, checklists, and repeatable patterns? Which steps rely on taste, persuasion, trade-offs, and situational judgment? The first category is a magnet for substitution. The second is a moat you can widen. Your goal is simple. Move one step each quarter from the first category into the second. That might mean owning the problem, scoping, instead of just doing the task, presenting insights instead of only producing them, or tying work to dollars saved, churn, reduced, or deals won instead of handing over raw deliverables. Next, build a before-after portfolio that proves it. Pick one workflow you do weekly. Run it the old way. Then rebuild it with an AI assistant and an automation layer. Document the time saved, the error rate reduced, and the outcome improved. Do this twice, and you have a narrative that convinces a manager, a client, or a new employer that you are an AI multiplied operator, not an operator at risk. For creators and analysts, a Notion page, a GitHub repo, or a public case study beats a resume bullet every time. Tool arbitrage is the third lever. You don't need 15 apps, you need one general model that's great at language, one specialized model or plugin for your domain, and one automation path that connects them to your data or calendar. The win isn't the novelty of the tool, it's the reliability of a system you can run daily. Measure it, minutes saved per unit of value. If a system saves you an hour a day, it buys room to climb into more complementary work strategy, synthesis. Communication with stakeholders, where AI is your co-pilot, not your competitor. Let's make the abstract concrete with 4 mini scenes. In customer support, a chatbot can resolve routine tickets end-to-end. If you live only in macros, you're toast. But if you specialize in escalations, tone repair, or designing the workflows the bot uses, your value rises. In accounting, categorization and reconciliation are getting automated fast. If you move into scenario planning, controls, and communication of variants to non-experts, AI boosts you. In marketing, writing generic copy is compressing to near zero. But writing a narrative that threads data, brand, and audience psychology is leverage. In software, boilerplate front-end work is accelerating, but architecture, integration, testing strategy, and product sense matter more than ever. In every case, the pattern is the same. Climb the ladder of context. For teams and leaders, 2 investments pay off together. The first is infrastructure, access to models, secure data pipes, permissioning, and the hardware or credits to actually ship AI into workflows. The second is people, training in critical thinking, problem framing, and communication. You don't need everyone to prompt like a poet. You need them to define good outcomes, measure them, and reason under uncertainty with help from a machine. Companies that only buy tools will shed people. Companies that teach people to build systems with those tools will outrun their competition. There's also a policy layer that matters for the bigger picture. Billions still lack reliable internet access. Without connectivity, there's no on-ramp to the AI economy. Expanding broadband, reducing device costs, and teaching digital basics is economic acceleration, not charity. Safety nets matter too, because people learn faster when they aren't in freefall. When we buffer transitions, we keep demand alive while supply transforms. That's how you turn productivity into prosperity, not just profits. Now back to you. If you're worried that AI will make one person do the work of 5, ask the next question. What happens to the other 4? The grim answer is they're replaced, if they stay standing where they are. The practical answer is they move out of pure execution and into definition, integration, and communication. A single operator with AI can draft, analyze, summarize, and visualize. The team still matters to set direction, check trade-offs, and land outcomes with real humans. If you become the person who keeps those loops tight, you become essential. Here's a quick calibration you can run tonight. Take 3 recent tasks you did. For each, write a 1-sentence definition of what good looks like, 1 metric that proves it worked, and 1 constraint that always applies. Feed that context into your AI assistant the next time you start. You'll notice 2 things. First, your drafts get a lot closer to done on the first pass. Second, your judgment is suddenly the bottleneck instead of your typing speed. That is the point. Shift the bottleneck to you, then raise your ceiling. Finally, let's address the narrative tug-of-war you'll hear in the news. One side says, every past technology wave created more and better jobs, so this one will too. The other side says, those waves replaced our muscles, so we could win with our minds. And if machines replace our minds, what's left? The truth is less romantic and more actionable. AI will create jobs where it complements humans and erase jobs where it substitutes them. If you intentionally reframe your role so that AI is your amplifier, not your adversary, you catch the upside. If you wait for the job to redefine itself around you, you stand in the path of substitution. This channel, Incentive Atlas, exists to translate that reality into steps you can take this week. We'll keep separating signal from noise, showing you where the money flows, and how to adapt your skills so you're the person tech multiplies, not replaces. Subscribe for weekly no-noise breakdowns you can act on.